Hello, everybody. Welcome back, friends. Glad you're here. This is Ridgeview's podcast where we try to cover everything hope, healing, and recovery related. I'd like to draw your attention to our helpline. For those that may be listening to this episode, it's 833-503-0348. We'll provide that information again at the end of this episode. That helpline is there for folks who may be experiencing difficulty in dealing with the challenges presented by COVID-19. We have trained counselors available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day of the week. So if you think that can be of help to you, please give us a shout. My guest today, one of our own therapists, Leah Kraft. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let me set the stage for us. A couple weeks ago, we had our COO, Nathan Zeiger, on. We were talking about timely access and how important that is. You know, that's one of our buzz phrases around here. One of the things that really drives the Ridgeview engine, timely access to care. And in it, he mentioned an assessment, which is the next step to actually getting in the door. And so it's timely, no pun intended, that you're here to talk about that. I thought you could help walk us through what that experience is like. So I'm someone who is ready to act on getting a need met. Maybe I'm feeling... I've not been feeling myself. Let's say I've been sad, depressed for weeks. Maybe I'm dealing with some unresolved grief, whatever the issue may be. But I've come into the walk-in clinic. The first thing that is going to happen is I bring a piece of identification, and if I have insurance, I bring that. If I don't have insurance, no problem. I still come in. What happens? Do I first meet with someone from the benefits team?
Yes.
And they walk me through just what I may qualify for?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long is that process usually?
That can depend. I would say anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes,
Okay.
I would guess.
So I'm going to sign some
Yes.
forms, releases, maybe consents,
Yes.
that kind of thing. All right. Those standard documents that when I go visit my dermatologist or my eye doctor
Right.
or primary care,
Yep.
sign this, sign that. I got you. Okay, so then after that, I'm meeting with you.
Yes.
What's happening? I know we use this phrase, a biopsychosocial assessment. What in the world is that?
So we're going to meet. I'm going to discuss with you what's going to happen. Basically, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. And that's standard, but it's going to encompass everything that is your history, your family history, what's going on today, what symptoms have you had in the past, if there's any substance abuse, if you've had any past substance abuse, because that could alter your treatment or what treatment you need today. We could talk about your medical history, your employment status, your student. If you're a student or if you're a child, it could talk about your student, what's going on with your grades, behavioral issues. So it's a holistic approach. It really takes everything together to move forward and give you the best treatment possible, so we can give that client the best possible experience.
So, okay, that's helpful. So it's all-encompassing. I mean,
Yes,
not
absolutely.
only medical history, family history. If I've had traumatic experiences in my past, say as a child, will I discuss that or share that information?
Yes, there is a portion on it where it talks about trauma. And I always like to talk to the clients about, if you're not comfortable, I'm not going to force you to talk about your trauma, because especially if you're going into therapy, that can be brought up later. If you want to feel comfortable with the therapist or, me as the therapist, if you want to discuss it later, if you don't feel comfortable talking to me since you just met me 5 minutes ago, that's understandable. But yes, it does talk about trauma. It talks about current trauma, current domestic violence, witnessing domestic violence as a child, any kind of trauma that you could have experienced.
What about my views about the future or what I would hope would be different. Do I talk about that? Is that part of the assessment?
Absolutely. And that's probably one of my favorite parts about the assessment is at the very beginning, we talk about motivations. And so if you're, where would you want to be on a scale from 1 to 5? So if 5 is the best you could possibly do and you're seeing great progress in your life, what would that look like for you? So right off the bat, you kind of see where that client wants to be in their life. What would it look like for you to see them go from where they are right now to be in the best possible place they could be in their life? And then later on, we talk about future goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, what they want to get from therapy and treatment, or if it's substance abuse treatment or anything like that. What do you want to get from it? So all across the board, there's motivations, there's goals that they want to see, and that's long-term and short-term. So, yes, I love the motivation part of the assessment.
I can tell.
I get passionate about it.
You lit up. You lit up when answering that question. So how long does this take?
So that can vary, actually. If I could give you an average, it's going to be an hour. It could take an hour and 15 or an hour and a half. It all depends on what the client is coming in with, what they need to talk about right off the bat.
Okay, so I've been through this assessment. At the end of this assessment, what do I leave with? What sort of guidance or instruction or the next steps after that?
So the great thing about this assessment is the client is going to leave with knowing what the next step is. So they can leave with an appointment card if they want therapy, an appointment card if they want medication management, if they want to see a psychiatrist for medication. If they want substance abuse treatment, they can leave with knowing they can get a referral. All in all, the therapist will discuss their treatment options before that client leaves. So that is the ending of that assessment is that discussion. So here's what I see for you. Here's the treatment options that I see moving forward for you. So that is discussed, and I think that's super important for that client to leave knowing, okay, this is what's going to be happening. This is my next step.
So you said options, treatment options. So is this a shared sort of decision-making process where we've had this assessment done? You tell me what your impressions are, what the options are, and then I can select, or I'm involved in determining, okay, I do want that, I don't want that.
Absolutely. And that's something that I will discuss with the client. See, you reported this. You say you're feeling depressed, and you've been feeling depressed for 5 years. I think therapy will help you with feeling depressed. It will manage that depressive feeling. You can talk about healthy coping skills in therapy. So you want to lay out what that treatment option is going to help with and why it's going to help, so that client knows. So you want to make sure that they understand why you're giving them that treatment option. But they can, obviously turn it down because it is voluntary services, so you don't want to force them into anything. But I do want to discuss, why I'm giving them those options. But yeah, they have that option.
You mentioned voluntary services, and I can imagine someone watching this and thinking, I maybe I know intellectually I need some help, but I'm so worried or afraid or fearful of what I don't know. And who I'm going to talk to, and what the process is going to be like. I want a measure of felt safety, that it's okay for me to take this courageous step.
Yeah.
It's hard for many people to act on seeking help. If I meet with you, so that the chances are that I may not see you then thereafter. It'll be, if the recommendation is outpatient therapy, I may be meeting with someone else at that point.
Right.
What avenues in which therapy can be done? I know with coming out of 2020, there's been a additional amplification of telehealth technology, televideo. Is that an option for me to receive that through the comfort of my own home?
I think so. I believe that right now we are still, utilizing those telehealth services, especially if it is going to make the client more comfortable. We want to make sure that those if it is going to hinder them in any way to not having the services, that we want to make sure that they are getting those services. If the telehealth is going to make them more comfortable, then whatever is going to make them comfortable, we want them to follow through with those services. And any way we can benefit them, that's absolutely.
How long, after we meet, we discuss the course of treatment, do I have to wait a month to begin that treatment, or how quickly can I expect, whether it's community-based substance abuse treatment or ongoing outpatient therapy or med management? Is there a range there, or is it pretty much within a week or two that would begin?
So once the client is seen, the referral is placed for that certain program. So if it's STOP, which is the substance abuse outpatient program, or MIST, which is the mothers and infants substance abuse program, the referral is placed, and that program contacts them directly. So that sometimes it can depend on what that program is looking like at the time, and sometimes it can take a week or a couple weeks. It really just depends on what that program looks like in that county, but it shouldn't take longer than a month. And that is one reason why the therapist at intake gives that client a contact number for the therapist. So if it does take longer than X, then that client can call the therapist and say, hey, I haven't heard from them, so can you help me out? And that's why they kind of make that connection for them.
Excellent. Okay, very good. So you primarily, your role here at Ridgeview is you primarily are doing intakes. I know part of it is with the Department of Children's Services through the teleconnectivity. But I'm curious, tell me about what meaning you derive from doing what you do in this role.
I really I feel like there's a lot of purpose from what I do, especially working with DCS. I feel like I'm helping families and helping the children, because, working with DCS and CPS and foster care, there is a immediate service, timely access to getting those families the need and the help, to getting the mental health services, to connect them to services so that possibly those families can be reconnected, or those families get services that they need that they might not have had before. Or I think we talk about this a lot, especially in the service that I provide. These families might not have ever come to these services. They are going through the DCS office, and they are very surprised that they can actually get services through the DCS office. So they're already there. They're coming to the DCS office, and then we walk them in a room, and they're like, you can have a mental health assessment right here, right now. So walk in here and let's get you some services. And then when they walk out of the DCS office that day, they're got appointments to help their family, to get some family counseling, to get some mental health services that they would not have had before. And they find it very motivating, and that's what I've seen over the past couple of years that I've been working with this program, that it's very motivating for them you see it uplifting that they have the help in just an hour.
I mean, you're certainly the first tethered line to treatment, to hope, to a positive future. So I see that first care experience that people have in the assessment as being just incredibly powerful. So it's very rewarding to hear that you find it so meaningful in return. Well, I know I too have had the good fortune of working with DCS, and I know they're big fans of your work, and you do a great job, and we're fortunate to have you, and our communities are fortunate to have you involved in providing that tethering to hope, healing, and recovery. One last question. Doesn't have to be a lengthy one, but we have had previous episodes about helping the helper. So certainly self-care is important. How does Leah take care of Leah? What do you do to take good care of yourself?
Oh, anything to do with my daughter. Obviously, it's playing with her, seeing her light up. I look forward to the end of the day when I can pick her up from daycare and just spend some time with her. That's my favorite thing, favorite part of the day. So exciting.
All right. Well, there's nothing like ending on a positive note. Leah, I'm really glad that you came.
Yes, thank
I know
you.
this isn't easy for a lot of folks and for their schedules, but it's a real blessing for us to be able to share what you do with folks that tune in. So thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for tuning in. Friends, we hope that you share this with other folks, and don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell so that you stay attuned to our latest episodes. Again, I want to conclude with our helpline. It is 833-503-0348. This podcast is part of our COVID response effort, which means that it is made possible in part through funding from the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Thanks for tuning in. Take good care. See you next week.